every single second of our life we are unconsciously manifesting something. See, throughout the day we are thinking thousands of thoughts, and we are having hundreds of emotions, right? So every thought you think and every emotion that you feel is making you increase your level of consciousness, fluctuating up and down according to what thought or emotion you are into. So you are unconsciously manifesting every single second. But when we are doing manifestation, we are consciously putting our entire energy and channeling it with respect to a certain event. So that's what we mean, that obviously there are many techniques, like some people do affirmation, some people write it down, some people use water technique. The thing which I do is called the heart brain coherence. But obviously everything is ultimately leading you to the same thing, for you to consciously choose how you want to live your life, and to also make you realize that everything that you ever want already exists and it's already happening.
And welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master Sun Quinn, and I have an incredible guest here today. He and I have been sharing kind words across the internet for quite some time, and finally we have a chance to meet and share our masterful viewpoint of reality. I would like to introduce Sriram from Consciousness Living 117 of the internet, a sort of phenomenon that he's sort of taken over and studied to teach people all these incredible skills. And he has a reputation that precedes him. And I'm just really excited to have him on the podcast. Welcome, Sriram.
Thank you for having me, Sanquing.
Yeah, I'm just very excited, my friend. It's like part of consciousness in of itself, in my definition, is enlightening people and getting people to see something that they would not have perceived before, having shared whatever it is that we share. And that unity as the brotherhood, the unity of humanity. What we get into is, I find that a lot of people are apprehensive to be as forthcoming with the type of material that you specialize in, that you share with the world. And also myself, I teach and practice, ancient thousands of year old techniques through Taoism as an ordained priest. And it's kind of like, people get a little bent out of shape because you're sharing the secret sauce. But it seems to be sort of like a part of the evolution of information. But moreover, let's get into your story, your backstory, where you came from, how you just came out of nowhere. Everyone's just talking about you and how amazing you are as a teacher, how amazing you are sharing the information, and what do you specialize in. So I'm going to be quiet right now, and please share with the audience.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Sriram, as you all know. So I'm from India and I'm 26. So I basically specialize more on teaching manifestation, astral projection, and lucid dreaming. So as I also previously mentioned, my journey started into spirituality through astral projection. Once I had this out of body experience when I was around 20 years old. When I had this out of body experience, I had no idea what that really was. I used to come outside, I used to just move around in my home, just floating in the ceiling and coming down. So obviously, when I woke up from that experience, I just thought that this was just some random dream, strange dream. But this used to happen every week for a series of few weeks, which obviously every time I used to wake up and I used to just ignore the fact because I have no idea what was happening at that time. But later in time, I got to know that through one of my friend that there is something called astral projection where you can consciously leave your body and explore that dimension. When he described that, obviously I related it to the experience I used to have it in my sleep state. And then that is how I thought, okay, maybe this guy is true. I need to really learn this if this is true. So then I started to read few books on astral projection. So this is one book I started to firstly start reading with.
Who's the author of that?
The author is Robert Bruce. So Robert Bruce.
Yeah.
So
Oh, there you
this
go.
book is a good book that talks how astral body works, how astral dimension works, what are the different planes, what are different beings in that dimension. So then obviously once I read that book, I started to practice. Obviously nothing used to really happen. Then I got to know that learning only astral projection won't be enough, that but you need to also learn how to meditate, be a bit grounded, and align your body so that it will be easy for you to explore that dimension. See, just like how we meditate, when we meditate or do some breath work, your physical body is also in that good state, right? In the same way, when your physical body is also well maintained, it'll be easy for you to tap into your astral body and explore that dimension even easily. So that's why we say that every dimension of you is connected. Every body, your physical body, subtle body, astral body, everything is connected. So if you take care of one thing, the other one take care. So then obviously I used to work on my physical body and also start to meditate, and that is how I started to initially astral project. Then obviously once I had that experience, then I started to dive deeper into understanding how that dimension works. And obviously when I was a student of science, so I used to connect quantum physics and spirituality to see that bigger picture of how it works. Then obviously everything really made sense. And it's been almost good 5 to 6 years of exploring all these practices. And obviously just begin, there's so much more to learn and grow. So that's pretty much good introduction about myself. And on top of this, I also, as you know, I have a page called Conscious Living 117 in which I make videos related to this, and also I teach people. I take personal and group coaching of teaching astral projection, lucid dreaming, and manifestation. So that is pretty much good introduction about me.
Yeah, that's it's just amazing. I really love it. I love sharing space with people that have the same um, um, mindset. Moreover, just wanting to share information, wanting to teach people to
Yeah.
realize and unlock the power and source of who they really are.
Yeah.
So let's get into this astral plane. So there are many degrees within Taoism. We sort of take these levels quite literally. You start with matter, then
Hmm.
it's chi, which would
Hmm.
be you know energy, then
Yeah.
Shen, spirit, then Wu Ji, which is the stillness between everything, that is all things. And then finally, we have the Tao, which is the mother of all things. And so it's like a 5 degree sort of shift of gear. Now, when we're talking about energetics per se, within Taoism, we will isolate and cultivate within what we call the energy centers. You would probably call them chakras. There's an upper energy center called the upper dantian, middle dantian, lower dantian. Then you have the subtlety of the actual energy centers, which you would refer to as chakras.
Yeah.
So for a Taoist, there's 9 energy centers between the earth and the universe, and then we go up to 108 as you continually ascend into higher levels of consciousness. I believe within Hinduism, I'm not sure whether that's what you're practicing, there's up to 114.
Yeah,
Um,
we 114 chakras.
mhm,
Obviously, we talk about the main 7 chakras, but obviously we got 114 chakras, and also I think around 72,000 nadis, if I'm not wrong. So these nadis are like energy, like pathways of energy centers. So they connect one point to another in your body.
mhm,
These are all these all exist in the subtle dimension, as you obviously know. So
mhm. Yeah,
obviously,
yeah. No, I mean, it's really interesting to parallel the methodology. So when when we're working on this, there's a separation because as a lot of my audience understand, and you probably teach your audiences too, the synchronicity to
hmm,
create, moreover, what people consider coherence is an
hmm,
interesting thing. When people say that, lately, I've been like, okay, look, I need people to really understand because I know you're teaching things that are ancient. I'm teaching things that are tens of thousands of years old that are Taoist practices.
yeah.
So when someone hears the word coherence, they think of Joe Dispenza. That's really good. I need people to understand that these practices of synchronicity have been around a long time before Joe Dispenza discovered neurology. You know what I mean? So, there's a lot more to, and looking at you and your aura and some of the ancient,
Mm-hmm.
let me just say, spirits that are swirling around you, specifically Ganesh, which is one that seems to be quite dominant in your field. Now,
Yeah.
whatever your practices are personally and your affinity with that particular energy, is there any relevance to Ganesh within your belief system?
Yeah, obviously, Lord Ganesh is the first deity that we pray to before doing any puja, or before doing any prayer or puja. Lord Ganesh is the first prayer we do to. Then we go to praying other god. So yeah.
Ganesh is very strong in your field. I would have to give you a little bit more credit to that, just so you can resonate. And you see, I do a lot of things outside of just the practices, but I teach people how to channel, mediumship, psychic, all that kind of stuff. So these are
Yeah,
all just variations. You are, my friend, a reincarnation of Ganesh.
me.
Yeah. Now
Oh,
you can marinate with that. That chilling effect you just got that sort of rippled through your head right now. That, and that's just part of like the interconnection, right? It's like, hang on a second, how does he know that he's feeling that? Because this is the entombment of the energies and how you acquire them, right? So when I teach people how to read
mm-hmm.
chakras or
Mm-hmm.
read energy, you're able to assess someone's mental emotional state by reading the energy centers. So that's what I teach people to do from a metaphysical perspective. You have a really strong pull to that particular energy, and then a representation of who you are and have been in many lives before this. And it's sort of like, does this make any sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely, it makes sense.
It's kind of mind blowing. It's very cool, man. You got some juice on you, my friend, big time. And
Thank you.
this is just part of you coming to a realization. And if I was to actually replicate that, you looking at past lives, at least the last 26 have been all in representation and transmutations of Ganesh before this one.
Yeah, obviously, basically, one more thing is that every deity or god we pray to, we also embody their energies a bit. For example, if you're praying to Lord Shiva, you embody his energy. If you're praying to Lord Vishnu, you embody that calmness.
Mhm.
So obviously, but obviously in our culture, first god, any prayer that we do, we start with the Ganesha prayer, and then we go to other deities prayer. So obviously we do embody and catch up on their energies when we connect with them. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, resonate. It'll take you a minute. You'll be like, what did he just say? Did he really say that I'm a reincarnate? What? What is going on here? Digest that one, because when you go and pray to Ganesh next time, your vibration is going to go up so many notches that it'll feel like you put your finger in an electric socket, my friend. You're going to all of a sudden, you won't have to attempt to cultivate your out of body astral plane experience. It's going to transmute into your connection. And that's just part of like associating with that higher frequency. Just like you're experiencing now, you feel that subtlety. It's kind of crazy, man. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So when we're talking about, so within Taoism, there's electromagnetic component, which is a polarizing effects of all things, right? This is the energy that transmutes and is translated in, round, and from your physical body as the receptor, which is the center point, the torus field that some people would be more comfortable with. I relate it to, in a much deeper understanding of Taoist scripture, we call it the torrid field. And people are like, excuse me, what? It's a torus field. No, the
But
torrid field is in reference to the celestial heat that comes from that actual emanation. So you have this emanation of this frequency, the magnetism, the electrical pulsation, and then for someone to really go deep into the density of energy, we're looking at separating. So thoughts are electric, feelings are magnetic,
Yeah.
You really understand this concept, right?
Yeah, so basically when it's more like when you, so basically with connecting to manifestation, so when you think a thought, it's leaves, basically it's like you're projecting an electrical field, and when you feel that emotion from your heart center, you're bringing back a certain possibility that's in alignment with you back to you. So it's like basically when you feel that emotion, you are becoming a vibrational match with a certain future outcome that you want to manifest. So basically the way I see it is that, see, whatever we want to manifest, everything that we want to manifest already exists in the future. So it's like every event that we want to experience, obviously it has multiple outcomes, right? Obviously not every event has multiple outcomes. Now each of that outcome is at a certain frequency, or we can say it has a certain level of consciousness. Now when, according to what your current energies are, or what your mindset is at this present moment, there is a certain outcome which has the maximum probability of you tap into. So according to what my energies are, there's a certain outcome which has the maximum possibility for me to experience it. But there are other possibilities as well, maybe which has minimum possibilities. If I work on myself on this present moment, if I increase my frequency, I'm consciously choosing to increase my level of consciousness, and I'm manifesting a better outcome. So when you feel that emotion with a, an elevated emotion, then you are becoming a vibrational match with an even better version. That's what we mean by you're becoming a magnet to that outcome, which you're drawing that and connecting with this present moment.
Beautiful, my friend. That I love it. I love hearing it. Yeah. So how I show people, right, is
Hmm.
everything in your existence is a thought, feeling, and an emotion. End of
Yeah.
story, beginning of story. Everything that you can relate to right now, in the past, in the future, has these three ingredients. And so
Yes.
when you are creating this, as you say, you want manifestation, magic, healing, all of the above, this comes from this place of understanding. Once you create a thought, feeling, and an emotion, this is generated, right? So on a deeper level, how do we do it from a microcosm? Once you have a thought, feeling, and an emotion, it triggers the alchemical response between the pineal, pituitary, and thalamus, creating a rippling effect within the culture medium, which is your blood, which is the messenger, sending this information to whatever sort of part of your body or the universe you want to express in your reality. So I really love hearing you explain that, because when people create these thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you send a message out to the universe and it meets with something equal to or greater than, which creates your reality. And that is so beautifully and poetically articulated within how you're speaking on the representation of that. Now, um, I teach people to take your emotions and put them down there. Sit,
Yeah.
quiet, roll over, still. And so a lot of people, they I remind them, I say, all thoughts of your mind are not yours. And they're like, what? That sounds so great. That's crazy. What do you mean? Well, whose are they? Well, this is the beautiful, perplexing part. All information comes from your heart, the truth teller. This is nothing more than a projector. This is a projector where you are just transmitting
Yeah.
um, a lens of what has already been conjured up within your heart. This transmission is dictating the outcome, the commander in chief. Now, emotions are the misconception, the fallacy of people's delusion, right? So when I say that, I go, when you're emotional, you're suggestible. What? What does that mean? Well, it means that you're already opening the doorway to your unconscious. You're opening the doorway to go, oh, hang on a second. I'm going to change, as Ram was saying, change the outcome. So what does that mean? It means the probability case where you're talking about the gradients of probability, more likely than not, the one that you have a lower vibrational frequency to, you're going to meet with that, and that's going to be manifested into your reality, as opposed to a higher frequency where you want the bag of money, you don't want to get fired tomorrow, but you're thinking about getting fired tomorrow. So that's the transmission that you put out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And one more thing, what people should realize is that everything that they want to manifest already exists in the future. See, now I'm sure in physics we talk about this concept of energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right? But it just transforms to one form to another, which means now people say that I create my reality, I create my reality, but you're not creating your reality. Everything that you want is already there in the future. You are just matching your frequency with the frequency of a certain desired outcome, and you're making it happen for you. So when you realize that, see, now obviously we talk about this concept that time is a physical construct, but if you go beyond the physical dimension, past, present and future is happening at the same time. So obviously everything that you could think of yourself to be into, or anything that you could think of experiencing, that is already happening in the future. All you have to realize that every event has multiple possibilities, and each possibility is at a certain frequency. So when you match your frequency with the best version's frequency, you are obviously, as you move through time, you tap into it. So understanding that I don't create anything but I tap into something that already exists will also put me in a mindset that, oh, this is easy because I am not creating anything, everything that I want already exists. So I just need to find a way to consciously tap into it. So that is one more thing which helped really me to manifest even faster.
Yeah.
So so
No, I
understand
love, I love,
it
I, lo-
works.
I love, I absolutely love that, my friend. I love the way you word that. It's
Mhm,
that I always talk about the major thing. I don't know whether you know this, but I've created an app. I have an
mhm,
app, right? So,
mhm,
and the app puts you in high gamma. So if you want to completely envelop your brain at 100% consciousness, right? So
mhm,
your gamma frequency is 40 hertz and above, which is generally when I do channeling any type of spirits or entities, I'm working between 60, 120 hertz. I've even got up to 200 hertz. I look like I'm in a sauna burning and churning. And that's when you're getting direct source information, direct source. This is not like we're sitting here. I'm thinking about what it is now. The information. I'll bring in my teachers like Latsu, and he will have direct communication with you through me as a catalyst and a conduit. And all the information is real time and it's instant. It's all accessible. As Ram was saying, it's
mhm.
accessible in the sense of um, it's already been
There.
created. It already exists. So this information is out there to
Yeah.
be tapped into. And that's a beautiful part of what you're talking about, the emotional part. But I always tell people when you're emotional, you're suggestible, right? So this whole understanding of being able to master the emotions, and what I do within my app, Way 126, is the visual and audible experience create a kinesthetic charge. The kinesthetic charge is the validator that you're in your state, right? So when you coach people and get them into that state of vibration, and it comes from a process I can quite clearly see. It's a respiratory development that comes with how you create that state and where you're going with what you want to do with what people conceive as their mind, or how they have thoughts, and how to still the mind, how to erase all thoughts that are not relevant or a state to be focused on, right? So this is where you get up there. And like I've measured, most anyone that does that, this app hits the 40 plus gamma. So when you're in gamma, what does that mean? It means that you're able to be highly conscious, highly creative, highly manifestable, and it's
Yeah.
instant. And you're able to alter your unconscious behavior. So you
Yeah.
can lay the framework so that you can get it done right now. There isn't in between. You are getting it done. It's happening. And just as Ram is teaching people with this manifestation, that framework, the way that you worded that is just eloquent. It's beautiful, brother. It's beautiful because this is so important for people to be able to understand. Once that frequency hits, man, doesn't matter what you're doing. And
Mhm.
I always tell people it's done. It's already done. And so we go into deeper workings of architecture of magic, where the magic component goes beyond just like, I want a bag of money, I want a girlfriend, I want a great job, I want a house. No, we start being very, very specific to the inner details of this manifestation of magic that you're casting. So right down to the last second, what you're doing, how you're doing it, where you're doing it, who's being affected, how it works. Now, this is where most people are like, well, that's not how the universe works. Well, listen, if a lot of people go through understanding how the universe works, just as Ram was talking about, it's present.
Yeah.
That's it. So what does
So
that mean? It means that the universe doesn't have a moral compass. We're not getting down to what's good or bad or up and down or in and out. That duality is limiting you. I'd love you to share.
yeah. Yeah, so basically, when we say that we talk to the universe or universe resonates, is just basically, see, one more thing is that every single second of our life, we are unconsciously manifesting something. See, throughout the day, we are thinking thousands of thoughts and we are having hundreds of emotions, right? So every thought you think and every emotion that you feel is making you increase your level of consciousness, fluctuating up and down according to what thought or emotion you are into. So you are unconsciously manifesting every single second. But when we are doing manifestation, we are consciously putting our entire energy and channeling it with respect to a certain event. So that's what we mean, that obviously there are many techniques, like some people do affirmation, some people write it down, some people use water technique. The thing which I do is called the heart brain coherence. But obviously everything is ultimately leading you to the same thing, for you to consciously choose how you want to live your life, and to also make you realize that everything that you ever want already exists and it's already happening. So so that's what I would say.
No, I think it's fantastic. I would probably add that I stress to one thing. There's two
Hmm.
camps to be in. If you're thinking, you're not knowing. If you're knowing, you're feeling. And so that feeling component is critical to the outcome. So you can have the idea of something, right? Monkey mind, whatever people want to conceive it as. But when I get you to feel that frequency, when I get you to feel that emotion, because the thought evokes the emotion that creates the feeling. So it's like a rippling effect, right? So people are like, hang on, well, how does that work again? Thought, emotion, feeling. And so some people will go, no, it's the feeling and then the emotion. No, there's a very, very succinct triggering effect. So when you get that, this is going on just as Ram was saying. Hey, it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
If someone gets up in your face and you get angry, you're manifesting anger. Well, what are you talking about? Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. You're feeding into your database, and you've chosen to be a victim to your emotional content.
Yeah.
And this is where people get a little muddy in the waters, because I want, and they fall short of it because of that signature. And when you get that feeling, literally anything and everything you desire will materialize instantaneously. And I'm not talking, people are like, oh, really? A Lamborghini? What about it? Listen, the only reason it doesn't materialize in the same second that you think about it is because you don't believe it. And
Yeah.
that is the critical component, is how much do you really, as Ram was saying, how much do you really believe that all these things are already present? All these things in the universe that you desire, whatever it is, the wife, the girlfriend, the house, the money, the career, if you don't believe it
Yeah.
to a degree, you're going to put it out there. The
Hmm.
universe is going to sample it. But the
Yeah.
reality is the more and more you don't get a confirmation, a validation that you're materialized something. And that's why I always talk about the feeling. The feeling is critical to the outcome, because this way you can discern the attempts of what you're thinking as a separation. It's not a collective. It's not a whole. It's not a singular. Whereas when you feel it, it's a whole. That's a knowing right there. That's a slam dunk. You're a home run. So it's like affirmations are really good, incantations, mantras. What I would say to this is, if you've got to keep chanting it over and over again, you don't believe it. People are like, whoa, what's going on here? What are you saying? I'm like, yeah, because when you have that knowing, is what Ram's talking about. What did you say? It's already exists. Anything you want, it's already have a different frequency. It's already present. All you got to do is sink into that, and it will be yours. So, with that understanding, and once you validate that process, right? And I always get people to wet their whistle with little things that are not attached to them, because the emotional content is where you get dropped like an anchor, right? So you lose. You're like, you get emotionally attached to it, and it doesn't materialize instantaneously. A classic one that I love people to start with is the parking ferry. Have you ever heard of this? The parking
No.
ferry? Okay, so how does that work? It means you have a thought form, and you do this all the time. When you enter a room and someone's in a bad mood, you already sense that. You're like,
Mm,
I don't
yeah.
like that guy over there. The terminology is, the energy in here is not that great. I don't like that guy's energy. I think I'm going to leave. And
Yeah.
so what's going on is this thought, feeling, and emotion is being projected out. It has a rippling effect because it's going on within your stratosphere, your universe, this torus field that's being projected. Even though people say it measures 12, 15 feet, I know as a Taoist that it's infinite, because I use it to do distance healing all the time, right? So distance healing is completely predicated on understanding what we call, or you would call, 0 point energy, right? The Taoists talk about the black hole energy, right? So the black hole energy is the infinite energy, 0 point energy. And so that's in one of my students is a functional
Mhm.
medicine doctor, and his son is got a PhD, and he works at a UCSF in San Francisco. And one of his projects was studying the nucleus of a cell. And you know what he found inside the cell?
Mhm.
He found that he freaked out. He couldn't believe it. He told his dad, and his dad instantly called me and was like, "Oh, you've been teaching me this stuff for years, and I've been able to sample the energy." But you know what he found once he decoded it? Black hole energy.
You know this guy, Nassim Harame. You know that guy?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, he talks a lot about this. He
Well, you
talks
see,
how, yeah.
you see the
Also,
no. I was just going to say the black hole energy is what the Taoists talk about when they activate the
yeah,
middle dantian. So
yeah,
what happens is the star dies, the phoenix rises from the ashes of the star, which activates the black hole, because the black hole is generated from the death of a star.
yes,
And
yeah,
so, on a much intricate sort of like alchemical thing, when we cultivate within Taoism, is that activation of that black hole energy. And so people go, "Oh, this is ominous. Oh my goodness, it's scary. It's like the abyss. It's sucking it in." No, not at all. When you understand the mechanics of the entanglement, which is a quantum field, that's exactly what that is. It's infinite amount of connecting points of this
yeah.
black hole energy.
Every atom is connected to another atom through quantum entanglement. That's how manifestation works in common sense. Where uh, the when you are able to influence the matter around you or any person around you, you're just quantum entangling with the connection that's already built. It's like the connection is already there. The connection is already there, and you're just trying to put your awareness onto it and make it more stronger, and you're making it happen for yourself. So obviously, when we talk about the concept of Big Bang as well, everything was in the beginning, everything was compressed in size of an atom. From that, everything expanded. So
Mhm.
even though now everything is so far apart, we are still connected to each other energetically because we all came from that one singular point. So
Well,
that's
that's
how it.
where that validation, right? So when he was able to decipher that, and that black hole energy was inside a cell, the nucleus of a cell, it's understanding that that's the glue that makes the entanglement possible. So that
Yeah.
0 point energy is what makes that real. And Taoists have been using that for thousands of years. And so I've been teaching people this for decades. My natural born life, 30 years, right? Been
Mm-hmm.
teaching it. And so for someone like Nassim to validate that within quantum physics as a new language that's only a couple of 100 years old, it makes people excited. But the most important thing with all this stuff is you need to show people, right? So showing is critical. Like when I teach someone something, I'm going to show you. I'm not going to like just talky. you need to be able to validate an experience that's taking place. Like if I do group healings, I get a couple of thousand people in a room, and when they turn up, someone's going to walk away with a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical transformation, because I'm transmitting a frequency that is so high in that interconnection, right? And so, how does that even possible from much more a simplistic neuro linguistic aspect, where you're talking about, like, when I talk about physiology, psychology, biology, neurology, you become limited. The teaching that you are putting out goes beyond the realm of the physical body. You cannot achieve these high levels of ascension without understanding that this is a tuning fork for your simulation, but it's not the actual limiter. It's the anchor to this realm, so that you can go off and take high levels of ascension to other dimensions, right? That's what it is. And so, the understanding that, and, conceptually, as you've mentioned many times before, it's conceptual to people until they meet someone like yourself or myself, where we can actually show you and teach you the technique that is necessary. And, like sleep paralysis, as we mentioned earlier, is, basically what people don't understand is sleep paralysis is one way to skin the cat. I do what we call Shen projection, or spirit or soul projection. And that's part of the mastery of a Taoist, but I do it with my eyes open. I move my spirit around as we talk right now. You and I are talking. I have a backdrop of the universe. I'm looking at all the constellations right now. I'm sampling the frequencies and energies of those very individual expressions of the universe, and I'm able to do that with my eyes open. And so you develop your sensory perception to get to that high level. So I'm very interested. I want you to share with the audience what would be. I'm not asking you to reveal your secrets, but let's just say, what would be a starting point for you? Because with sleep paralysis, because it's very popular right now, near death, out of body experiences, right? Understanding these things. The sleep paralysis aspect is what people don't understand. When you wake and you can't move your body, like you experienced, and you were sharing that with me, what it is that's that first point or step to another realm, right? So what happens is, you start, in most cases, and doing this 30 years, people stop breathing through their mouth. And so that respiration, we call this, when we're looking at moving energy with our breath within Taoism, it's called Qigong. And so what happens is, you gather that respiration, and the breath becomes very dense and condensed within your middle dantian, or your heart. People could call it your heart. Then you start reflecting on a physical response that is not reflected of the outcome. Yet someone would look at it from WebMD and go, I'm having a heart attack. Something's going on. I can't move my body. What's happening? Well, what happens is, you're popping yourself out. When you wake up and you're in that sleep paralysis, it's not a demon controlling you. And I'm not saying that that's not possible, because I do exorcisms for a living also. That's a whole nother ballgame, but it's a construct of your reality. So the individual that is perceiving this particular spirit or entity that may be a lower vibration is what you created, just as we're referencing how powerful it is, the stuff that you talk about, where it's already been generated, it's already out there, you just have to match the frequency. If someone thinks it, that spirit and entity is absolutely tangible. I could show it to you. So what happens is, someone will be creating and conjuring up these things within their perception of reality. Their sensory perception has generated the boogeyman or some evil low vibrational energy. So when you wake up in that state of sleep paralysis, it's 1 second away from astral plane traveling. The only problem is you've kind of gathered the chi within the physical body, and you're feeling paralyzed. You can't move. You don't realize that you're already out. So in your perception, I'm dying. I can't breathe. I'm dying. And so that snaps you back in, and the magnetism from the heart draws the spirit
Hmm.
back in. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, yeah. So basically, even during astral projection, the way this works is that, see, now the way I see it is that, see, your soul or consciousness, spirit, these are all the same thing but different names. Now your consciousness exists in different dimensions simultaneously. So one layer of your consciousness is in the physical body. There's another layer which is in the astral body, in the subtle body, mental body, causal body. So you exist in all dimensions simultaneously, but your awareness is more active in one dimension at a time. Now my awareness is now is active in this physical body. That doesn't mean that my astral body doesn't exist. It is in other dimension but not active. So when I am astral projecting, my awareness is more active in my astral body. When I'm meditating, what happens when we meditate? Our body becomes lighter. We start to feel something within us becomes lighter because now your awareness is more active in your subtle body. So now, here, one thing we need to understand that every single night when you're sleeping, you are unconsciously astral projecting. See, when we sleep at night, our physical body needs rest. But your consciousness, which is energy, obviously, that doesn't need rest. That also exists in another dimension. When you're sleeping at night, your awareness is now more active in your astral body. But during we sleep, along with our physical body, our mind also falls into sleep, so we end up not being conscious in our astral body. But when you're astral projecting, you're learning how to put your body into sleep and keep your mind awake and consciously tap into your astral body and explore that dimension. Obviously, now one reason why some people have this out of body experience even without they trying to do it, just like how I had before coming into spirituality, because sometimes you automatically end up waking up in that dimension and you just explore that dimension, and you obviously have no idea what's happening when you are there and once you wake up. So let's consider now you're astral projecting. Okay, you're astral projecting and you're floating in your room and you can see your physical body sleeping below. Let's
Like
consider.
now.
Yeah.
And you see that's the thing. You separate your attention when you refine these skills. You can
Hmm.
have your attention, the old concept of multitasking, which people talk about.
Hmm.
And quite frankly, if you ask a psychologist, that doesn't exist, right? You have multi personalities anywhere in excess of 14. You shift gears through those through the course of a day. This is a psychology perspective, not something that you and I are gravitating to. But when you refine your skills, you can be in all places at once. This is the part where, and that's part of Nigong. So Nigong is moving energy with your mind. And
Hmm.
so when you refine that Nigong practice, you can actually be present in all dimensions instantaneously. Now that is a mind blower, but it's all part of where you're at. Like I love the way that you're framing it because it makes it very understandable for anybody to get into those states and shifts of gear. Now, what I'm speaking on it might be a little bit more advanced, but I also let people know that I can speak something that can
Hmm.
trigger within your consciousness, and you can obtain that skill like this. I do not limit anybody. I've seen it all throughout my lifetime. I don't limit the ability that someone can access the stuff that I've been working at for 30 years, like this. It can
Yeah,
happen
absolutely.
instantaneously, you know.
Obviously.
So, and the way that you teach, my friend, is beautiful. I love it. So yes, please continue.
Yeah, so basically, let's consider you're astral projecting and you're just floating above in your room. You're just floating around. You see your physical body sleeping, and now let's consider there's a person sleeping beside you. You will see that their astral body is floating above their physical body, and their astral body is also kind of in that unconscious sleep state, which means every single night you are unconsciously astral projecting, but you're not aware of it. But now you're just keeping your mind awake and consciously coming out. So now sometimes it also depends. See, every night when you're sleeping, I would say 90% of the times you are in your room floating and in that dimension. But sometimes your astral body is also awake and it's exploring that dimension. Sometimes you remember it, sometimes you don't remember it. So like when you remember it, you see that, oh, when I was sleeping I had this experience where I was floating above, I was moving here and there, but I don't know what it is, just like the way I had it. But a lot of people also have this near death experience where, for example, they had some accident, like I think you also told one, right? So yeah, so
Yeah, yeah. I died. I was hit by a car when I was dying, head on, on my
yeah,
bike.
yeah. So
Yeah.
basically it's like your awareness is instantly snapped into your astral body, and now obviously you see what's happening to your physical body. And also a lot of people explain how when they were undergoing a surgery, they were in that soul or spirit, kind of state, which is obviously their astral body, and they were able to see everything that's happening to their physical body. They were able to see all the doctors operating, their friends and family coming and visiting. And also there I've heard stories where people tell when they were in that coma state, obviously for a couple of weeks or for a few months, the entire time they were in their astral body and they were conscious in that dimension. But since their brain had a problem through coma, they were not able to enter. But there are so many, obviously these are all scientific evidences which clearly shows how you also exist there as well. So
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the science stuff is always excites me to a degree, but it's also very limited. You know
yeah.
what you're talking about is something you've intuitively acquired just outside of what you already know, that your book learned. You know, this frequency. So when it comes to out of body experiences or astral plane traveling, when I teach people, it's being able to unravel and then ignite this signature frequency that starts from the core and it ripples out through the whole, what you
Mhm.
would perceive as the physical body. Then it's like a full body like oscillation that will
Mhm.
literally take off like a rocket to the moon. And so
Yeah.
when you continue to sit into that frequency, you pop out and you
Mhm.
do it consciously. You
Mhm.
do it very consciously.
Yes.
How do you describe what you teach people in relation to how they get there?
So basically, the technique which I teach is called the mind awake, body asleep technique, in which basically I teach firstly, preparing your physical body firstly is important before doing the experience. This is something I've learned based on my experience that firstly you need to learn how to disturb your mind. So firstly, see, obviously when we say the technique mind awake, body asleep, it means you need to keep your mind awake when you're falling into sleep. So basically, you need to wake up in the between of your sleep around, for example, you wake up at 6 a.m. You need to wake up somewhere between 4 and 5, and you need to astral project. So you need to wake up and disturb your mind by just walking around. Then maybe just sit for some time and meditate for a while. Then, do some breath work, and then tell an affirmation that you're more than this physical body, which you know that the CIA, affirmation, if I'm sure you heard about that. So once you do all these things, you're preparing your physical body, and then you consciously put your body into sleep and keep your mind awake. The way you do that is by, what I do is I put my awareness on my breath and I just meditate slightly on my breath so that I keep my mind awake while my body is relaxing. And as I do that, slowly I start to feel that my awareness is shifting from the physical to the subtle dimension. Then I start to firstly feel my subtle body. After being there for a period of time, then I take it to the astral body and I consciously exit my body. That is how I do it. So it's like this process is happening every single night when you're sleeping. Every single night your awareness is making a transition to the subtle and then the astral plane. But now you're just learning how to put your mind awake and you consciously tap there. Also here your intention also matters. So I'm sure you heard this yoga nidra. In Sanskrit, we call this yoga nidra, which is also the state where you put your body into sleep and mind awake. But here, you're just using astral projection to take it next level, where you are also adding your intention that you want to do it. So if your intention is not strong, it won't work out. Again, it is kind of manifesting your experience only. So I also learned from that book that intention is everything. If your intention is not strong enough, you won't be able to do it. You might end up falling into sleep, or you might not be. You will not fall into sleep, but you're not able to do it as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, that's really the premise or understanding. A lot of people talk about
Hmm.
um, how to frame out lucid dreaming. It's really not as complex as people want to make it out to be. It's just laying out a script, because
Lucid.
your attention
Yeah,
intention lies everything. So you just speak it, and it will become your reality. So if you're about to go to sleep, you lay out the framework of the magical mystery ride that you're going to generate, and 100% that will happen every single time. And it's like, hang on a second, whoa, that can't be that easy. That is the misconception. On a
yeah,
face value, people refuse to accept the simplicity of how powerful your interconnection with the universe is. Does that make sense?
yeah. Lucid dreaming is actually very easy, to be very frank. Astral projection will take some time as a beginner, but most of the people I train, they do it within a couple of days, because obviously I've been exploring for all these years. So obviously the way I teach is to make them a bit more easy. And see, obviously one more thing people need to understand is that these, especially astral projection and lucid dreaming, is something that is easy to induce when you wake up in between of your sleep and do it. Now, when you sleep at night, obviously, on an average, it's told that for the first 30 to 45 minutes, there is no dream for an, if you take a group of people or an average, there is no dream for the first 30 to 45 minutes. Then your REM sleep cycle starts, in which 15 to 20 minutes you get a dream. Then there is no dream, then there's a dream. So this cycle keeps continuing. But early in the morning, before you wake up, 1 to 2 hours before you wake up, your dreams are super active. And when your dreams are super active, you need to wake up at that time and then go back to sleep with the intention of doing lucid dreaming. So the dream is already happening and you're just putting your intention to consciously make it happen.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
a it's an interesting phenomenon. It's kind of like some embolistic trance state. You familiar with this?
M.
So
Ah, okay.
you
Huh. Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
so, so if you understand anything about degrees of trance, right? The deepest one
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah,
goes
yeah, yeah.
well beyond some embolistic is sort of like a trance state where you are deep in your unconscious and you are realming around doing things that are not you wouldn't consciously remember, right?
Yes.
And so this is what I get people to when they do my app, they go either gamma or they go epsilon, and
Mm,
epsilon is beyond delta, right? So we're in a deep trance. And so when Ram is talking about getting up at 3-4 a.m. in the morning, there is a brainwave state that you enter into, which is an alpha theta state instantaneously at that circadian rhythm at that time of the morning. Now, what
yeah.
happens is when you wake up and then go back to sleep, what happens is you're switching the light on and then you're turning it off. What does that mean? It means that if you were to go to a hypnotist right now and you're working with a hypnotist, for them
Mm,
to deepen the trance that you're in, you open your eyes, you close your eyes.
mm,
Open your eyes, close your eyes. And within three attempts of that, you can go into the deeper state of trance just by opening and closing, deepening the state of like unconscious. And so
yeah.
when you're getting up, you're opening your eyes, you're activating a theta state, and then poof, you go deep in. And so, if you have a premise and understanding of what that is,
Mm,
you will be instantly realized. It will be given to you. So that
yeah.
state of um, uh, uh, being mindful and remembering what it is that you have created within a lucid dreaming sort of program is really quite something. And the astral plane stuff is, you know, most people that I take through the first time, that whole breathing respiration thing is a saturation of that energy. And that's how they end up in that catatonic, like paralyzed sleep paralysis state. Now, are there entities that could potentially be affecting them on the astral plane level? 100%. If you're bringing them in, if you believe in Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street and all the rest of it, that is a very tangible signature frequency. It's
Yeah.
real. I can show it to you. Anytime anyone wants to put their hand up, I'll bring it into the room, because that is real. That comes from the deep, darkest states of Wes Craven's mind that created this type of stuff, and it
So
becomes realized.
yeah, so basically, the in astral plane, from my experience and what I've learned, it's basically told that there are seven planes of existence in the astral dimension. Obviously, there are more subplanes in that as well. So there are upper astral planes in which there are your spirit guides or this ascended masters or higher beings, and in lower astral there are obviously this, you could say, negative spirits or vampires or something like energy suckers. So basically, every time when you're astral projecting, we always need to do it with a good intention or a good mood so that you always tap into an higher plane. So astral dimension works more like a thought responsive reality, where anything that you think or any emotion that you feel, that is what you experience there. So when you do it with a good intention, you have a good frame of mind. When you're doing it, you always tap into a higher plane. If you do it being scared, or if you do it with, with an understanding that, oh, something will happen to me, I might get stuck there, then obviously you're creating a room for negative experiences or negative beings. So obviously, one more thing, people have this misconception that, when you astral project or something goes wrong, you might end up dying there, or some spirit will come and enter your physical body. From my understanding, that doesn't work that way. Here, astral dimension is not the ultimate plane. Beyond astral world also, there's dimension of the dreams, then there's the actual spirit world. So astral plane is just like a playground where you can tap into and have your own experience of learning there. So every time you see a negative spirit, in case you encounter a negative spirit, all you have to do is creating a golden shield around you. Just by setting an intention, you create a golden shield, and you say that nothing can enter this and I'm protected. When you say that, nothing can enter you, because that is thought responsive reality. When you say it, it happens. So it's like a universal law where you give energy to that being. Only if you give energy, it will have the ability to harm you. If you don't, obviously it can't. So that is one thing. And also, these negative beings in the astral plane, they are not really that powerful. They are more of energy suckers. For example, they want to feed on your energy and just take that. So obviously, if you have that experience of meeting a negative being, you, when you wake up in your physical body, you wake up being very drowsy, or tired, something like that. But obviously you never die or something will harm you. There's so many myths around this on internet as well, where people think that it's super dangerous. To be frank, every single night you are doing it unconsciously. Now you're just learning how to consciously do that and explore there. Simple as that. And from my experience, obviously, since I've learned how to do it, I every time do it with a good intention, and every time I do it, like 99% of the times, I end up tapping into a higher plane and I have good experiences. So once I had this experience, what happened was that I astral projected and I came out in this very same room. Okay, this was almost 4 to 5 years ago. Okay, it was like the beginning of my astral projection journey, like initial few months. I astral projected and I came out, and you see a mirror there, right? You see a mirror there,
Mhm.
backside of me. I saw a orangish white color mermaid just in front of that mirror. A real mermaid in that dimension, in the astral form.
Mhm.
And I was seeing it from the back, and it had like, glitter shining on her back. So I was just observing it, like what a mermaid is doing in my room in the astral plane. Then I thought, what if this is some evil being trying to act like it's a good? When I told that, that mermaid turned into an evil being and it tried to come and attack on me. Immediately, I created a shield. I created a sword in my hand. I just feared it and it went away. So that was a good being, but my awareness made it a bad being. So
Mhm.
that is how it works. And that was one crazy experience I had. And also, my first experience meeting a being in that dimension uh, happened obviously with an intention that I want to meet someone. And I'm sure you know of this Lyran civilization, that lion faced beings. I'm sure you heard.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that was the first being I ever met in that dimension. And later I also got to know that I have connection with this Lyran civilization from my past lives. So yeah.
I mean, when I channel or I see entities of any kind, it's as clear as I see you. Just like Ganesh is still very present in your field and in the space you're sitting in right now. And it's kind of like it's a glittery sort of like silver, diamond, platinum like state. And
See, you see,
energy is
see
very
the
present.
see the Ganesh.
Yeah. Well,
I've,
here's I'm going to ask you a question, Ram.
yeah,
How 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 is your sensory perception? How sensitive are you to energetics?
very sensitive.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So I'll
you
tell you,
yeah,
I
go ahead.
yeah, I understood I was very sensitive once I had this experience. What happened was that when I went to United Kingdom for my masters, so firstly I was in a home for rent. So I was with a family for the first 2 months when I was there. Everything was very good, because obviously when you live with the family, they try to keep your home very you know everything very neat and clean. So energies were also very good. Then after that I shifted to another home where there were three bachelors along with me, and they used to keep the home very dirty, like super dirty. And I was there for 3 months. Those 3 months were like just horrible for me. I can't meditate there. I can't do breath work there. Every single second I used to feel very drained there.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
had no
Well, I mean,
idea what was happening.
you understand that that's the personality,
Yeah,
and that victim sort of personality, that draining, what we call psychic vampires. You
yeah,
know,
they were
they're
vampires. So they used to feed on my energy. Then later, after 3 months, when I shifted to another home, from next day I was completely fine.
right.
Then I realized that obviously I really became sensitive to these energies where they used to just feed on my energies. And yeah,
So, would you be interested in doing a little experiment right now?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah. So Ganesh's frequency and energy is very, very, very strong in your space right now, and you've acknowledged. Look, I have a Tonka of Ganesh on the wall.
Yeah.
It's you know the presence of that energy, right? When you pray to Ganesh, there is a frequency. Yes,
Yes, 100%.
you feel it, right? So that would you define Ganesh as a man or a woman?
He's a man. He's a
Yeah,
man.
yeah. It's interesting because there's a lot of feminine qualities to Ganesh, like extremely high yin energy, which would be reflected within Taoism as um, yin, feminine energy. So you
Mm,
create intuition. You're highly sensitive to this. So that his energy, as you've defined it, because I couldn't differentiate between male or female for Ganesh. Their energy was polarizing but equal, right?
yeah.
So his energy is in your room, right? You would agree, right? But
Mm,
tangibly feeling his auric field is a whole nother ballgame, right? So
mm,
if you turn around to behind you in that room, there his spirit and energy and auric field is amassing the whole corner of the room there near the window. Now, if you use your fingers, right, as a tuning fork,
mm-hmm.
right? So you just take a second. Let's just switch them on a little bit. Okay, just amplify a little energy here. Take a
Okay,
minute.
yeah. I do it like that.
Well, you don't have to do that. All you need to do, because you're going to attune with me. This is part of like
Mm.
understanding mirror neurons, interconnection, rapport. Right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you
yeah,
breath
yeah.
in, take a breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more, in through the nose, out through the mouth, out through the mouth. One more, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And when you go out through the mouth, once you exhale, I want you to hold it. Don't breathe. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Now you've got a lot more density in your hands.
Yeah,
Feel
yeah,
me? Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, oh, now palpate it a little bit, get the density, feel it. Yeah, you see, I love it. I love it. It's like all of a sudden, how is that possible? You're there already. You know, that tightening that you get from chi, where you feel that in your hands, that puffy feeling. It's kind of
Yeah,
cool, huh? Now,
yeah.
what I want you to do is if you turn your camera towards that room, the corner of the room, Ganesh's auric field, the center of Ganesh, the center point of Ganesh is in the middle of that corner. You take these tuning forks. So if you turn your camera around so you can kind of show the audience what you're experiencing.
One second. So,
Okay, so right. So Ganesh is taking that whole space. So from where the image is right to the window is Ganesh's energy. Now, what I want you to do is take your hands as tuning forks, and you can actually, even sitting there,
mm-hmm.
and face that direction because it helps with your assimilation. And I
That
want you
is.
to, yeah, and face the direction of that room, right? Now, what I want you to do is take these tuning forks, and I want you to slowly point them towards that corner of the room and tell me what you experience as you reach towards it slowly, but pointing your fingers towards that corner of the room.
So connecting to Ganesh.
Oh yeah, the energy's already there. He's sitting there in the room. It's quite dense. Now, if you move your feet, if you move your feet, if you move, what's that?
Do I need to do breath work again?
Oh no, 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 no! Listen, do your hands again. Feel that? Feel your hands. What do you notice? You feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's there. It doesn't go anywhere. Just like remember, it can't be created or destroyed. It's always present. You know, this is kind of like a framework of a little refresher of what you know to be true. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just your sensory perception, right? Now, if you take your fingers, once you attune to that, and then slowly move them towards the corner of the room, just slowly move them, very slow, because that's gathering that energy. And you tell me the amplitude of what you're experiencing.
I feel a bit heat.
You what?
I feel a bit heat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what happens is I want you to now move your hands even closer to that corner point. So you can slowly reach out and explain to the audience what you're experiencing because there's an amplitude that changes as you get closer to that center point.
I need to go near Ganesh.
What's that?
I need to go near Ganesh.
Well, you can go. What the awareness is bringing to you is understanding that amplitude of his spirit is present in your room right now. He's taking up that whole corner, and when you move your fingers, you can feel the degree of difference. As you mentioned, heat, but the center point of his core is from the top of that. What do you call it? The window curtain and to the middle of the corner of the room. Now, if you slowly move, you can even move one hand at a time. Yes, stand up. Here we go. Now, as you slow, you don't have to point at him. He's already occupied that space behind you. You need to now take a second and amplify your consciousness to that state, right? So where you are, you can see my finger. Where you are right now, move your finger slowly towards that corner of the room and tell me what the degree of difference is, because as you real slow, even slower. There you go.
It feels a bit more denser.
And this is all kind of, now before you even stop, now I want you to move your hands even closer to the corner and tell me what you experience, because then you're going into the center mass of that auric field.
Yeah.
There you go. Now explain it from a sensory perception level.
I feel a ball of energy. Yeah, I do feel a ball of energy which is just becoming bigger and bigger.
Right, because this is part of that. His spirit is evident in your space, right? Now,
Yeah.
the more you attune yourself to that simple practice that I showed you, you are going to become sensory aware of all the subtleties of the entities that are hanging around you. Because there's probably just in your house, probably close to 20 different entities. Now,
They are,
you probably pray to a lot of different gods, right?
yeah.
Yeah, there's at least 20. And so the fact that you switch that on, because this is sort of a reminder of what you already know to be true. And all this is another degree of your sensory perception that you're familiar with from a level of um, manifestation, astral plane traveling. This
Yeah.
is no different. It's now you are creating a sense. You've just created a sense of something that is more than subtle in relation to that. What did that energy feel like? Explain it to the audience.
It was a bit, as I kept walking, it felt more dense, and I was feeling a ball of energy that would clearly see, like, kind of an energy that would not compress my hand so easily the way I'm doing it now. Like
Yeah,
it will
yeah,
take
yeah, yeah, yeah,
something like that. And
yeah,
obviously I felt that ball being heated up as I was just moving.
yeah.
So
Is that a first for you?
no, I've done this in another way, but obviously the way you described it, I've done it for the first time. But in another way, obviously I do keep doing this at times. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, I think it's more like being aware that this is constantly as you out of your mouth, energy can't be destroyed or created,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like that being aware. Now I can see him as clear as I can see you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the crazy part. And
Mm.
his incredible frequency, incredible energy, and a mission of this beautiful earth-like compassion that comes from this energy, man.
Wow.
I'm not sure what you attune him to, but it's extremely earth grounding and very maternal. Does this make sense?
Yes. Yes.